So before we get into everything that happened with Kada Scott, I need you to hear what her aunt said. And I'm being serious right now because what I'm about to show you is either going to make you believe in something beyond this world, or it's going to raise a whole lot of questions about coincidence. October 2025. Kada Scott has been missing for days. Her family is out searching everywhere in Philadelphia. Police are following leads, and her aunt Bree White gets on social media. Now, Bree describes herself as a seer, someone who can see things in the spirit realm. And she starts telling people what she believes happened to her niece before the police made any arrests. Listen to what she said.
I will tell you this, my niece is still in the area of between the job and the park. That's what I will tell you. I will tell you that there's 3 people involved. I will tell you that one person has dreadlocks. I will tell you that the job does know what something is going on with it. I will tell you that my niece got in a car to sit with the parties, and it wound up being a drive-off situation into an argument. It is not sexually that's involved. It is a lot of, assault and things of that sort, and that led to. It's a transition situation. So.
Now here's why I'm starting here. Because within days of her saying this, police found physical evidence at an abandoned middle school.
Now, this is a school that has been closed for over a decade. We saw a large amount of police officers, multiple units from the department, including canine search teams. This is a very large property, 3-story former school. They were searching the exterior grounds as well. And police say they did find significant evidence, physical evidence that ties Scott to that location. So they believe Scott was at the abandoned school at some point over the past 11 days.
A school that had been closed for over a decade, and a 21-year-old man named Keon King turned himself in to police. So the question becomes, did Aunt Bree see something real, or did she make lucky guesses based on what she hoped to find? We're going to walk through what actually happened, what the police discovered, and where her predictions line up and where they completely miss. But before we talk about suspects and evidence and spiritual claims, we need to talk about Kada. Because Kada Scott was a real person with a whole future ahead of her. Kada was 23 years old. Penn State graduate, class of 2023, studied communications. She wasn't just trying to figure life out. She was building something. This young woman had already opened her own beauty salon. At 23, she designed her own clothing brand. She loved fashion, she was creative, she had just started competing in pageants that summer. Miss USA. Her father said she loved it and wanted to do it again. She was living with her mother in East Mount Airy, working overnight shifts at the Terrace at Chestnut Hill, a senior living facility. By all accounts, Kada was the kind of young woman who stayed connected, social media active, close with her family, ambitious, the kind of person who checks in, who posts, who keeps people updated on her life. October 4th, 2025. Kada left her house around 9:45 p.m. to go to work. Her shift was supposed to run from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. She drove her own car, parked in the employee lot like always. Everything looked normal. But here's where things get strange. Kada arrived at work just before 10 p.m. 20 minutes later, co-workers saw her leaving. 20 minutes, not even half an hour into an 8-hour shift. Her car stayed in that parking lot, but Kada took her belongings with her, her keys, her phone, her Apple Watch, her iPad. She didn't come back. What happened in those 20 minutes? What would make someone leave their job, leave their car, and walk away into the night? Because after that moment, Kada Scott went completely silent. No phone calls, no texts, no Instagram, no social media activity at all. And the police said it themselves, a 23-year-old in 2025 doesn't just disconnect like that. Young people are always on their phones, always connected. So for everything to go dark, that was the alarm. Her family reported her missing October 5th, and investigators already had concerns because Kada had told people close to her that someone had been harassing her. Phone calls, someone bothering her. She felt unsafe enough to mention it to family and friends. Now, did she know who it was and not want to say? Or did she genuinely not recognize who was calling? We don't know yet. But what we do know is she was afraid, and that fear turned out to be justified. Philadelphia police brought in K-9 units, helicopters, drones. They focused on the Aubrey Arboretum in Germantown, 55 acres of wooded land. Why? Because that's where Kada's phone last pinged before going offline. The last trace of her digital footprint came from that area. Deputy Commissioner Frank Venor explained that their evidence showed Kada was in communication with someone, that she appeared to meet this person very shortly after leaving work, and then she disappears off of the footprint. Everything just stops. They searched that entire arboretum, combed through woods, brought in extra officers, found nothing. No sign of Kada, no physical evidence at that location. By October 14th, 10 days after she vanished, the case moved to the homicide unit. And I need to explain what that means because people saw that and immediately assumed the worst. So the fact that homicide detectives are handling the case doesn't automatically mean that someone has been killed. What it means is this case is serious and they need their most experienced investigators on it. Homicide detectives have more resources, more training, access to specialized tools. When you need the best team, you call them in. First Deputy Commissioner John Stanford was clear.
We are still treating this as if Ms. Scott is still alive, and that's why we want the public's help in trying to locate every single piece of this.
The FBI's Violent Crime Task Force joined in. This became all hands on deck, and that's when things started moving. October 14th, 2025, 21-year-old Keon King turned himself in to Philadelphia police. Now here's something that just came to light that changes how we look at that timeline. The night Kada disappeared, October 4th, she had been on a date earlier that evening. That's right, Kada went to Topgolf Saturday night with a young man, and according to what he told police, because he cooperated with investigators. She got home at 9:45 p.m. Her mother saw her leave for work at 9:50 p.m. 5 minutes between getting home from a date and heading out to work. That's barely enough time to walk in the door, put your things down, maybe change clothes, and head right back out. The young man told detectives something interesting about Kada. He said she was easily approachable. He described how he met her by simply rolling down his car window and striking up a conversation with her. She was friendly. She was open. She didn't have her guard up the way maybe she should have in this world we're living in. And that detail matters, because it tells us something about who Kada was. She wasn't closed off. She wasn't suspicious of everyone. She was a young woman living her life, being social, being kind to people. And unfortunately, that openness may have been what someone took advantage of. Now let's talk about Keon King, because what we're learning about his history is worse than what was initially reported. We already know about the kidnapping case from earlier in 2025 that got withdrawn, but there's video of that incident. It's been circulating on social media, and it's part of the evidence police have. The video reportedly shows King walking up to the victim's window. This isn't just he said, she said. There's proof of what happened, but it doesn't stop there. King has an active protection from abuse order against him from a third woman, not the first kidnapping victim, not Kada. A third woman who felt unsafe enough that she had to get legal protection. And that order, it's in effect until 2027. And there's more. Law enforcement sources say King was also a suspect in a rape case involving yet another woman.
Go away, bitch. Don't come over here. Karen, call the cops. Call the... It's all these kids in here. Call the cops, you dumb bitch. He coming around the window. Go that way, Cameron. Yeah, bitch, go away, bye. Go away, bye. Yep, bye.
So we're not talking about two incidents, we're talking about multiple women who have encountered this man and been harmed or felt threatened. This isn't a pattern, this is a history. This is someone who has been showing the same dangerous behavior toward women over and over, and the system kept letting him walk. When King was finally arrested on October 14th and arraigned, his bail was set at $2.5 million. That's how serious these charges are. That's how dangerous authorities believe he is. But here's what sources are saying. King hasn't been as cooperative as detectives would like. He's not talking. He's not helping them find Kada. And that's the cruelest part of all of this, because while he's sitting in custody refusing to cooperate, Kada's family is out here begging for answers. Her father, Kada Scott, went on Good Day Philadelphia 2 mornings in a row. He brought his brothers with him. He wore his daughter's name on his hoodie over his heart, and he made a direct appeal to anyone who might know something.
Let my daughter go. Bring my daughter back home. She has loved ones, family, friends that all care about her. She has a bright head on the shoulders, a great future. You know, people make mistakes. If she's alive and breathing, you know, just get her back home, you know?
We want her home.
That's a father trying to find any path that leads to his daughter coming home, even if it means appealing to someone's humanity, even if it means offering grace when he shouldn't have to. He's hoping there's one person out there, one friend of King's who has a heart, who understands the severity of what's happening and possibly speak up. Earlier in 2025, the same year, Keon King was arrested and charged with kidnapping and harming another woman, a woman he knew. Assistant District Attorney Ashley Tusolowski laid it out clearly.
Allegations in that case are that he kidnapped a woman in front of her house, threw her in her car, assaulted her, and then eventually let her out of the car. There is some video evidence, I believe, that'll be played at the preliminary hearing, but that was domestic in nature.
There's reportedly video evidence of what happened, so why isn't he in jail already? Why was he free to allegedly do this again? Because that case was withdrawn in May 2025. The victim didn't show up to court. Not once, but twice. And according to the DA's office, after the first court date when she didn't appear, the case was marked as must be tried. Meaning if it's not tried by the next listing, it gets dismissed or withdrawn. She didn't come to the second court date either. So the case was withdrawn. Now they've refiled those charges. And this is where we need to have a real conversation about what happens when victims are too afraid to show up to court, because I'm not blaming that first woman. I need to make that clear. When you've been harmed by someone, when you've been traumatized, going to court means facing that person again. It means reliving what happened. It means potentially putting yourself in danger if that person gets out or has people on the outside who might retaliate. Fear is real, and the system doesn't always protect victims the way it should. But the reality is, when that case got withdrawn, Keon King walked free. And 6 months later, Kada Scott disappeared. Could this have been prevented? That's the question that's going to haunt a lot of people. Because there was a pattern already showing itself, and it didn't get stopped. Deputy Commissioner Van Noor said it himself during that press conference. King has a little bit of a pattern of this type of history, and they were asking anyone else who may have been victimized by him to come forward. Now let's talk about the vehicle. On October 15th, around 3:10 p.m., police got a tip. Someone saw that gold Toyota Camry in a parking lot at the Gypsy Lane condominiums in East Falls, right off Lincoln Drive. Officers responded, and there it was. Heavily tinted windows, front-end damage exactly like they described. They couldn't see inside because of how dark the tint was, so they had to wait for a tow truck to take it to their evidence garage where they could process it properly. Now let's go back to Aunt Bree's predictions, because this is where people's minds started going in two very different directions. Aunt Bree said,
White truck, near trains, bandit building for sure.
That abandoned middle school, that could be what she meant by bandit building. And guess what? There are train tracks in that area of Germantown. So that part, that lines up. She said Kada was in the area between the job and the park.
My niece is still in the area of between the job and the park.
The terrace at Chestnut Hill where Kada worked, the Auberry Arboretum where her phone last pinged, and this abandoned school in Germantown. They're all in that general geographic zone. That part also lines up.
Tell you that my niece got in a car to sit with the parties, and it wound up being a drive-off situation into an argument. It is not sexually that's involved. It is a lot of, assault and things of that sort, and, that led to, it's a transition situation.
Police confirmed that evidence showed Kada was in communication with King, that she appeared to meet him shortly after leaving work, and that they believe she may have been in his vehicle. The got in a car part, consistent with what investigators found. But here's where it gets complicated. Aunt Bree said there was a white truck involved.
White truck?
The vehicle police were looking for, the vehicle that was found, a gold Toyota Camry. Not a truck, not white. Gold sedan. That's not a small detail to get wrong. But then again, we can all see a white truck towing the gold Toyota Camry away. Maybe that's what she saw. She didn't really describe anything.
I said I will tell you. I would tell you that there's 3 people involved. I would tell you that one person has dreadlocks. 2 other people are involved. It's a female. I know one female personally, but there's some jealousy things going on.
Police have said their focus is on Keon King. They mentioned they were tracking multiple phone numbers and investigating whether others were involved. As for me, I think she was spot on with the dreadlocks part, because Keon has dreadlocks. She said there was a female involved, jealousy, motivations. Police haven't confirmed anything about a female accomplice or jealousy as a motive. That hasn't shown up in any official statements. So what do we make of this? Was Aunt Bree picking up on real spiritual information? Or was she making educated guesses that happened to be general enough that some things would match? You be the judge of that.
It's a real tough situation because it's just unreal.
Bree White back in Chestnut Hill from Delaware today with her son. She says they couldn't just sit back as her niece and her son's first cousin remains missing.
To be honest, I'm just hurt right now. I'm filled with rage, anger right now. I'm just trying to stay strong for my cousin.
We've been out here since yesterday in the rain, in the parks, in Auberry, and today we decided to come out here over in this area. To me, something is very strong over here in this area. And at this point, it's really just about getting out here and looking for her.
White describes herself as spiritual and says she's relying on that for clues to help her find her niece, 23-year-old Kada Scott. Kada was last seen more than a week ago at the terrace at Chestnut Hill, a senior living facility where she worked, on the evening of October 4th. Police say her car was found in the parking lot, but her keys and cell phone are missing, her once active social media quiet. They do not believe she went missing on her own. Investigators tell Fox 29 the last place they could trace her phone before it went off was the Auberry Arboretum, which led to a thorough search all day Friday, but they did not find significant evidence. Desiree Whitefield, a concerned neighbor, also wanted to help today, focusing in the area around the senior living facility.
We can see something that maybe have been missed, and we can look for cameras. I could not sit down. I could not just watch on TV and see the anguish.
White and her son also searched nearby Pastorius Park. They're not giving up.
We're going to find her. That's a fact. We're definitely going to find her. And it's going to get handled.
Everyone that has breath in their body and that has love and peace in their hearts, should be out here.
So here's the question we have to ask ourselves. And I want you to really think about this. When a family member is desperate, when they're searching for someone they love, is it possible they're tapping into intuition that guides them to real places? Or is it grief and hope creating patterns where there might not be any? Because Aunt Bree wasn't just sitting at home making predictions. She was out there, searching Auberry Arboretum in the rain, walking through Pastorius Park, covering the area around the senior living facility. She was doing the work, And maybe some of what she said was based on actual geographical knowledge of the area, actual understanding of where things could happen in Philadelphia, combined with what she was hearing from family and friends about what Kada had said before she disappeared. Or maybe there's something we don't understand about intuition and connection between family members. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm just laying out what was said and what was found. What I do know is this: whether Aunt Bree's visions were real or not, the facts are clear. Kada Scott disappeared October 4th after 20 minutes at work. Evidence showed she was in contact with Keon King. Physical evidence tied her to an abandoned school in Germantown. King's gold Toyota Camry was found and is being processed for evidence, and Kada is still missing. The question that keeps coming up over and over: how did Kada Scott and Keon King know each other? Because that detail matters. This wasn't a stranger snatching someone off the street. The evidence shows they were in communication. They knew each other, but for how long? How did they meet? What was the nature of their relationship? Deputy Commissioner Van Noor was asked about this directly during the press conference, and his answer was honest: I don't know their relationship. Obviously, they had a connection, they're going back and forth, and they've known each other for a short time. But I don't know how long, a short time. So this wasn't a long-term friendship. This wasn't someone she grew up with. This was someone relatively new in her life, and that raises more questions than it answers. When the reporter asked if Kada met him willingly that night, Van Noor said, I don't know yet. So we're left with this reality. A 23-year-old college graduate, business owner, young woman with her whole future ahead of her, knew this man for a short period of time. She was in communication with him, and 20 minutes into her work shift, she left her job and her car behind. Whether she walked out to meet him willingly, or whether something else happened in that parking lot, we don't know yet. But what we do know is that Kada had been telling people someone was harassing her. Captain John Craig from Northwest Detectives said during an earlier press conference, in the days leading up to her disappearance, Miss Scott related to her family and friends that an unknown individual or person had been harassing her via phone. An unknown individual. But was it really unknown, or did she know exactly who it was and didn't want to say? Because think about this. If you're being harassed by someone and you know who it is, why would you describe them as unknown? Unless you're scared, unless you're trying to handle it on your own, unless you don't want your family to worry or get involved because you think you can manage the situation. And this is something we need to talk about as a community. How many times do women, especially young Black women, try to handle dangerous situations quietly? How many times do we not want to alarm our families, not want to seem dramatic, not want to create problems, so we downplay what's happening to us? Kada told people she was being harassed. She expressed that she didn't feel safe, but she either didn't say who it was, or she said she didn't know. And whatever was building in those days before October 4th came to a head that night. Now let's talk about Keon King's background, because this is important context. According to court records, King had multiple run-ins with law enforcement in 2025. He has an open DUI case out of Delaware County from December 2024. In March 2025, he was charged with driving away from a police officer during a traffic stop. In June 2025, he was charged with fleeing from police on foot. On October 2nd, 2 days before Kada disappeared, he was charged with driving without a license. So this is someone who was already showing a pattern of running from authority, evading police, not following rules. And that's on top of the kidnapping and assault charges from earlier in the year that got withdrawn. What does that tell us? It tells us this is someone who doesn't respect boundaries, someone who thinks they can get away with things, someone who's been getting away with things because the system kept letting him slip through. And I need us to sit with that for a second, because this isn't just about one person's actions. This is about what happens when accountability doesn't exist, when charges get dropped, when cases get withdrawn, when someone shows you a pattern and nothing stops them from continuing that pattern. King allegedly tried to cover his tracks. He got rid of the car before his arrest. He got rid of his phone. He wasn't using his known addresses anymore. Deputy Commissioner Van Noor said, he attempted to elude us for some time. But eventually on October 14th, King came in and turned himself in. And here's where we are now. Keon King is in custody, but Kada Scott is still missing. The police are still treating this as if she's alive. They're still searching. They're still asking for public help. But we're being realistic too, because it's been weeks. And the longer time goes on without finding someone, the harder it becomes to hold on to hope. So what do we take from this? What lessons are here for us as a community? First, if someone tells you they're being harassed, believe them. Don't minimize it. Don't tell them they're overreacting. Don't wait to see if it gets worse. Take it seriously from the beginning. Document everything. Report it. Make sure there's a record. Because if something does happen, that documentation becomes crucial evidence. Second, the system has to do better. We cannot keep having situations where someone gets charged with a violent offense and then walks free because a victim is too afraid to show up. I'm not blaming victims. I'm saying we need a system that protects them better so they feel safe enough to testify. We need victim advocates. We need protection orders that actually mean something. We need prosecutors who will move forward with cases even when victims are scared. Because when we don't, we get situations like this where someone who should have been locked up is out here allegedly doing the same thing again. Third, background checks matter. I'm not saying Kada did anything wrong. I'm not victim blaming. But as a community, we have to teach our young people, especially our young women, to pay attention to who they're letting into their lives. If someone has a pattern of running from police, if they have cases pending, if they're showing you they don't respect authority or boundaries, that's information. That's a warning sign. We have to trust our instincts. We have to be willing to walk away from people who make us uncomfortable, even if we can't explain exactly why. Fourth, when someone goes missing, hours matter. Kada's family reported her missing the next day. Police responded quickly. They brought in resources fast, but even with all of that, we're weeks out and she still hasn't been found. The first 48 hours are critical in these cases. If someone you love doesn't come home, if they're not responding, if their phone is off and that's not like them, Mizet reported immediately. Don't wait. Don't assume they'll turn up. Don't worry about looking dramatic. Better to be wrong and they're fine than to wait and lose precious time. And finally, community matters. The tips that came in from the public led to major breakthroughs. Someone saw that car at the Gypsy Lane condominiums and called it in. Someone had information about the abandoned school. People were out searching, handing out flyers, keeping Kada's face in the public eye. That matters, because police can't be everywhere. They can't see everything. But when a community comes together and pays attention and speaks up, that's when cases move forward. There are still so many unanswered questions. Where is Kada Scott? What exactly happened that night? Was anyone else involved? Why did she leave her job after only 20 minutes? What was said in those communications between her and King? Will we ever know the full truth? And what about Aunt Bree's predictions? Was she truly tapping into something beyond our understanding? Or was it a grieving aunt making educated guesses while desperately searching for her niece? Maybe we'll never know that answer either. Maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is that a family is broken right now. What matters is that a 23-year-old woman with a bright future is missing. What matters is that someone who showed a pattern of violence was able to allegedly act on it again. Keon King is facing trial for both kidnapping cases. The investigation is ongoing. Police are still asking anyone with information to come forward. If you know something, if you saw something, if you have any detail that might help us, call the Philadelphia Police Department at 215-686-TITE. Don't assume your information is too small or insignificant. Sometimes it's the smallest detail that breaks a case wide open. As for Kada's family, they're still waiting, still hoping, still searching. And that's the cruelest part of cases like this, not to know. Because closure, even when it's painful, is better than living in this space where you can't move forward and you can't go back. You're just stuck, waiting for answers that might never come. So tonight, I'm asking everyone watching to keep Kada Scott's name alive. Keep her face out there. Keep the pressure on. Keep hoping that somehow, some way she comes home. And while we're hoping, let's also commit to doing better, to protecting our young women better, to holding our systems accountable, to teaching our communities to recognize warning signs and speak up before it's too late. because Kada Scott deserved better than this. She deserved to keep building her business, keep competing in her pageants, keep designing her clothes, keep living her life. And if we can't give her that, the least we can do is make sure this doesn't keep happening to other young women who are just trying to exist in peace. That's where we are with this case. That's what we know, what we don't know, and what we need to learn from it. Stay safe out there. Look out for each other. And if you have any information about Kada Scott's whereabouts, please make that call.
This is a news conference about Kada Scott, the 23-year-old from Philadelphia. She's been missing for about 2 weeks now, disappeared on October 4th. Scott's family last saw her the night that she left for an overnight shift at her job at the Terrace at Chestnut Hill. That's a nursing home on East Abington Avenue. Just yesterday, law enforcement sources confirmed that police identified a man who they wanted to talk to in connection to the case. Let's listen in.
On the disappearance of Kada Scott, which occurred on October 4th, 11 days ago. I'm going to provide you an update in terms of an individual that is currently in custody for his involvement in the disappearance of Ms. Scott. However, still a lot of work needs to be done. And so I just want to make that very clear as to why we are here and the information that you will receive. Essentially letting you know how we have gotten here. But more so the public's help that we need right now. The public has been very helpful thus far in providing a lot of information, which the investigators have been able to track down a lot of the leads, which has helped us get to this point here. But as I said, a lot of work still to be done. The number one priority is locating Ms. Scott. I just want to make that very clear. And so while we are at this stage of this now, that's our priority. And so we will ask for your help in locating this vehicle, which you'll get a little more information. It's a 1999 metallic gold Toyota Camry with a Pennsylvania tag of MSX0797. But we need to know where this car is. We need to find this car. Making this very clear, it's not to just focus on the northwest section of the city of Philadelphia. This car has traversed through the entire city. And so I want that to be clear, that every neighborhood, every person listening to this, whether you're in North Philly, South Philly, Southwest, Northwest, please open your eyes and see if you locate this car, or if you have seen this car, please contact us and give us that information. The second part of this is the individual that Deputy Commissioner Venor will provide his information very shortly. Want folks to understand this person has a little bit of a pattern of this type of history. And so we want to encourage anyone that may have been involved with this individual, anyone that may know this individual, please, at this point in time, make that phone call. Feel comfortable enough to call us and let us know if you have any information regarding this person, regarding any interaction you've had with this individual. If you have been a victim of any crime regarding this individual, I want you to understand now is the time to make that phone call and let us know. Give us that information so that we can continue on. Again, just want to make it very clear that a lot of work has been done, starting off with Northwest Detective Division, and then this case shifting over to homicide, making it very clear that the case was shifted to homicide because we have the most experienced investigators in our homicide unit. They have the most experience dealing with all types of investigations. They also have the most resources available to them. And so we have the hopes that we are still treating this as if Ms. Scott is still alive. And that's why we want the public's help in trying to locate every single piece of this. But I just wanted to make that clear because I know there's been some reports once it shifted over to homicide, folks not understanding the why. And so that's the reason behind that. At this point in time, again, appreciate the help that we've gotten. I want to turn everything over to Deputy Venor to go into more details about the individual that has been taken into custody and some other pertinent facts of the investigation.
All right, good morning. Just to reiterate what the Commissioner Stanford said, we've been investigating this since Saturday, October 4th in the evening, the last time Kada Scott was seen at her place of work up in Mount Airy area. Our evidence that we followed, and we did involve a lot of investigators on this, led us to several places, that digital evidence, and as everybody knows, we searched a very large area up in the Arboretum and we came up really with negative results. After that time, we asked the Homicide Division, the FBI Violent Crime Task Force to enter into the investigation, and we continued our search trying to find Ms. Scott along with anybody she may have encountered during that time. Our evidence that she was in communication with an individual
News conference
to meet her very shortly after she leaves her. She disappears off of the footprint. We have a lot of digital evidence, video and other, which provide an individual by the name of Keon, K-E-O-N, King, K-I-N-G. Through our evidence, we were able to charge this individual. The district attorney was able to charge the individual. You'll hear from them shortly with kidnapping at this point. It's very important to know we're not done our investigation. Ms. Scott, figure out where she is or what may have happened to her to cause her to completely disappear from all her items, her phone, her Instagram, social media sites, and everywhere else, work. She left her car at that location. So it's very important that this individual, who does have prior history of being arrested, especially for this very same thing, this year was charged with kidnapping another female acquaintance. That case was dismissed from court, and I'll explain it. It's going to be refiled now as we're going to move forward to attempt. So he's being really charged with 2 cases today of kidnapping, and that case it involves kidnapping. So this is a pattern of behavior. That vehicle that you've seen, the Toyota Camry, was his vehicle. All right, that vehicle's not recovered. All right, some of the stuff he did as we attempted to find him was he got rid of things like the car, the phone. We're not able to find things that he was using. He had an address in Southwest Philadelphia. He had other addresses that it looks like he's not using anymore. So he attempted to elude us for some time. He did come in last night. He's here being processed, but there's a lot of questions we still have. So we're asking the public's help. We need it more than ever. This car, you'll see a better picture of it. We sent it to you digitally. It's a gold-colored Camry, 1999. It has heavy front-end damage on the left front bumper. All right, that's being described that way several times. We know it's been in the Mount Airy area. We have photos of it in Center City. We have pictures of it in Grace Ferry area and in Southwest Philadelphia. So it's possible that it could be anywhere. It could be outside the city. So if somebody sees this, thinks they know where this car is, it's very possible it doesn't have this tag on it anymore. So if you see a car like it, we're urging you to call police, have it investigated. Any information on this, you can call our tip line, 215-686-TIPS, 8477, or the Homicide Division directly, and give that information. All right, I'm going to turn things over to ADA Teslowski, who could speak a little more about the charges and potentially other charges that he's facing.
Thank you. My name is Ashley Teslowski. I am an assistant district attorney in the homicide unit. I became involved in this investigation last week when the investigation was turned over to the homicide unit. So I became the assigned ADA when detectives Rob Daly and Joe Kremen took over the case. The first thing I want to say is that PPD and our federal partners and Detective Daly and Detective Kremen have done an amazing job to get us where we are. Today I'm joined by Tracy Washington from our Victim Services Unit and also Bob Listenby, the first assistant of our office. What I can confirm is that our office, as of the early morning hours into the early morning hours this morning, did charge this individual with charges, the lead charge being kidnapping. You know, as we've said multiple times at this point, we do not know where Ms. Scott is. So at this point, our lead charge is kidnapping. What we're able to confirm and what I was able to charge based on is what we know, which has already been said, which is that this person, Mr. King, is the last person we believe to be in contact with her, and that he was in contact with her when she went offline, meaning her phone, everything. So at this point, the investigation has led us here, and we're able to charge him with kidnapping, recklessly endangering another person, use of a communication facility, meaning his phone. We were able to track his phone and communications on his phone. He's being processed as we speak. When I picked up this investigation, one of the things that our office also learned was that he did have a previous case. It was a 2025 case for very similar conduct, strangulation and kidnapping. That case had been withdrawn by our office based on the witness failing to appear at court. I pulled that file, and after an extensive review of it, our office made the decision to refile those charges. We believe there is enough to proceed, and we also do believe that this is a pattern for this person. That refile was filed yesterday. He was served on that as a part of our conversation with him. Him being here and being processed on the new charges, he was served for that, so he will also be facing a preliminary hearing on that previous kidnapping case as well. So at this point, he will have 2 open kidnapping cases that will face preliminary hearings in the coming months.
I don't know if there's any questions.
For the district attorney's office, how many times does a defendant, does the case appear before a judge that it's then withdrawn? I mean, how many times does this matter come before a judge and the decision then gets made as withdrawn?
It depends. In this specific case, what I could tell you is that after the first listing, when the victim failed to appear, the case was marked what I'll call must be tried, which is a little bit of a court lingo, but basically saying if it's not tried by the next listing, it'll either be dismissed or withdrawn. It was marked that way after the first listing when she didn't appear in court, and then at the second listing, when again we didn't have the witness or the victim in court, it was at that point withdrawn given the previous marking.
Do you have his date of birth?
I do not, but I'm sure we can get that.
Yeah, I'll get it.
The video that was seen of the vehicle in the area of the Arboretum, do we believe that's the vehicle that...
So this vehicle has been traveling all over the city. So we do believe this video is involved in what we're talking about, and we have it all over the city in concert with how he's moving as well. Yep, we have the date of birth for you. It is 5/6/2004. So 5/6/2004.
Do you guys know how the two knew each other, how long it had been, and is this the specific individual that Kada had expressed concern about, specifically harassment?
I'm not willing to comment on that at this time. That's still very much being investigated in terms of their relationship and how long they knew each other.
So the significance of the car right now, the urgency, if you will, can you address why we believe people need to find this car?
Sure, I can certainly comment on that, or if you want to. I mean, at this point, we believe he is connected to this vehicle. We also believe she may have been in that vehicle.
As far as the other case, the kidnapping case,
Yes.
can you just explain some of the circumstances surrounding that case, as brief as you would believe?
Sure. That case is an individual that was known to him, a domestic in nature. And what I can say is the allegations in that case are that he kidnapped a woman in front of her house, threw her in her car, assaulted her, and then eventually let her out of the car. There is some video evidence, I believe, that'll be played at the preliminary hearing, but that was domestic in nature.
And do you have a time or about when that happened?
It was this year in 2025. The case was withdrawn in May, so it predates that by a little bit.
Where was the last location this car was seen?
I don't know if we have exactly the last location, but what I can say is through our investigation, it was tracked all over the city, in multiple areas of the city in multiple different time periods throughout, the entire length of this investigation.
When police were at an address in Southwest Philadelphia last Thursday night, was that one of his addresses?
It was one of the addresses connected to this investigation.
Do you believe anyone else might be helping King or possibly be driving that vehicle for him?
In terms of other people being involved, I don't have comment on that at this time. It's still very much being investigated. There have been several phone numbers involved that we've been tracking, but all roads at this point lead to him, and so that's what we're hoping leads us to her.
After she arrives at work at 10 o'clock, how big is the time window when she actually remains at work before leaving?
Yeah.
She's not there long at all. She gets there maybe just before 10, and right after she's out, maybe 20 minutes. That's what I'm told.
Are they communicating at this point?
We believe they are, yeah.
Do you know how the two knew each other?
I don't know their relationship. Obviously, they had a connection. They're going back and forth, and they've known each other for a short time, but I don't know how long.
Do you know if she was willingly meeting him, or?
I don't know. I don't know yet.
It's going to take a couple more questions.
Any more questions?
I just wanted to see, is he saying anything? Is he being interviewed?
I'm not going to comment on that at this point. All right, good.
Thank you very much.
Oh.